Hello, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast here for WCS, the first ever broadcast at this league. It's all excitement. The first one, the debut here at the WCS League Formula 3s here at Silverstone, using the full layout for this first round of the first championship at the league. Very, very strong field, that has to be said. 30 cars strong. Actually, we've had a few leave here during the warm-up. They hopefully will be back before the race starts. But yeah, looking like a super strong field. There's plenty of very, very talented drivers throughout this field, and it should be a fascinating two races ahead of us. Got the feature race first. I think it's a 40-lap race, all time certain, and then a 20-lap all time certain sprint race after that for second race. But it should be fascinating nonetheless. But of course, I'm alone here. Thomas Hinss leading you through tonight's action. But alongside me in the broadcast booth is Mr. Sam Jones.
Hello, Thomas. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's it's an exciting one today, isn't it? Like you just said, it's the debut of WCS here in 2017, and very early on in the year, of course. It's really exciting to get straight into the racing, and I'm really looking forward to this. We've got quite a big grid tonight so far, and it's pretty much just guesswork about what's going to happen. Since everything is completely brand new, this is really just something I've been waiting for so long. I'm so excited to see all this kind of come together tonight after months and months of planning, all behind the scenes. It's really been incredible stuff, and it's looking good out there at the moment. Really, really excited for it.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. It's all been obviously in the works, this league, to get the league up and running, to get the series and the drivers all good to go for the season start here tonight with the F Formula 3 tonight, and then the BMWs not long after tonight as well. And they'll be starting as well with their teams and drivers. So, yeah, we're looking through the field. I think Jarl Tyen, by the looks of it, managed to grab pole in the qualifying session. That was just before the broadcast started. So he's got the pole position there from Sven de Vries in second, and Lars Brugman in third. And they're all very close too during the qualifying. I noticed Borja Milan is in P4 for Multiforce, and then you have Niels Brugman to bring out the brothers for Wouters Automotive. So, yeah, looking like we've got a super strong field, as we said. Plenty of big names here to race tonight to show us off these Formula 3s. Really interesting cars to drive too. I did have a little bit of a crack at these earlier on yesterday. For me anyway, Aussie time, of course, lovely time zones. I had a crack at these cars around here, and they are super strange. I think it's a lot to do with set up these cars. They're very setup dependent on getting the most out of them, because I was doing some laps and I was quite a ways off the pace with them, and I was just sort of putting a setup from scratch, so it was a bit difficult. So they're certainly very interesting, quite tail happy, I was finding, if you didn't get set up right. So there's plenty of opportunities for things to happen in terms of incidents here, because the cars can be like that. So feature race here does have a mandatory pit stop. That is what the little thing the feature race has got. Obviously the sprint won't. So there will be I believe it's a required four tyre stop throughout the race. So it's going to be interesting to see where everyone decides to do that stop. But I'm fairly sure as well that people will have to refuel as well. If I'm not mistaken, I'm fairly sure the fuel won't last till the end of the feature race, so I'll have to also refuel at some point, which is going to be interesting. So it could be a bit flexible, couldn't it, Sam? It could be a bit like people going early to try and get the undercut. You could have some people going later. It's going to be really interesting to see which strategy is going to work the best for this.
Yeah, that's another thing that we really don't know too much about at the moment, and I think a lot of these drivers will be guessing a little bit as well. There might be an optimal strategy, but unless you've really put the practice in and tried all different configurations, you're not going to know what it is. So I think we will see some guys maybe doing a shorter first stint to try and get the leap on the guys around them, and a few other guys maybe further back will try and go longer into the first stint to just stay out there and get some fast laps in right at the end of their stint when everyone else has peeled off around them. But it could go either way, and we could see the pole sitter maybe getting swamped if he's got more fuel than anyone else around him. That's why really we've got no idea what's going to happen right now, and that's what's making this whole series today really, really exciting to find out and watching a few of the guys going around the second sector as well. The cars looking quite good as well, following each other, which is what I really was hoping for. Want to be able to see the drivers being able to follow each other around and not worry too much about the dirty air. You know, it's everyone's least favourite 2 words in motorsport, and so far that's also looking promising as well. So super excited.
Indeed, no, it's going to be a absolutely fascinating set of races we have ahead of us tonight. So have a quick look. We got a couple, just under 3 minutes to go in this warm-up session before we go green for race 1 here. So I'll quickly go through at least the teams here of the that are taking part in this inaugural season of the F3 series here at WCS. So the first team, we've got CM Tech. They're here with an entry, I believe they're yellow and blue, I believe it is, or purple, light purple coloured car. Can never quite pick what colour that is, but they're here in this league to show off their stuff. Then we've got Deltec Racing here as well, Adonis Engineering, EG Engineering, Drag Racing. This is just, it's a pretty, as I said, all-star lineup really of, certainly in terms of R-Factor 2 teams, a lot of very successful R-Factor 2 teams here to race at this league. And we've also got Hawkeye Racing, of course, Ice Cold Racing, Multiforce Racing, MDR Motorsport, Pescaro SHS, Racing Team Schroden, Satellite Racing, Stax Racing, TG Racing, TR Bravos, I believe it is, Motorsport, Wells Automotive, and also Woods Racing are your teams. They're entered in this F3 Championship, and the BMWs, there's a different few other teams in the BMWs that are entered in that. Less teams than the F3s, but still a very strong lineup in the BMs as well. We do know, though, here tonight that as our cameraman extraordinaire, by the way, Ben Willis on the cameras, just doing his usual fantastic work on the cameras. Obviously, he's involved with the Drag Racing guys, and apparently they're Matt Richards, who's going to be driving for them in the F3 series. He's been having issues with connections, unfortunately. Apparently, R-Factor 2 being a real pain, just not wanting to play ball, so he won't be here tonight. So it's just the one Drag here tonight for them in the form of Rob Mason, who I believe qualified near to the top 10. I think he was about 13th or 14th or so in qualifying, which is pretty good for Rob. He was only just over a second off the pace, so he's certainly there or thereabouts. And I certainly think he'll be in the fight for the points at the very least in both these races, which is good to see. So we've just under a minute to go until we get ready to go green here at Silverstone. So I guess before we get going, Sam, we'll ask who you're going to be watching throughout this race to be challenging for that win.
Oh, that's a very, very difficult question. We've got a really competitive field of cars here. 30 cars full this grid is at the moment. Potentially, maybe someone else might join, but I don't think so. But to be able to pick a driver out of this so early on is going to be real hard. But for what I know, there's a couple of guys. Of course, Lars Brugman, who's had a lot of success in R-Factor 2 over the last couple of years. He's definitely one to look out for. Sven de Vries as well has had many battles with Lars Brugman in the past, and I'm sure here they'll be quite closely matched as well. Jerne Simoncic as well. He's another very familiar name, and been around for quite a few years now in sim racing, and I expect to see him up near at least fighting for the podium today and potentially also win. But like you said, it's whether people have got the setup right with these cars. That's the thing. So I think the guys that have done their homework are really going to be the ones that shine here today.
Yes, indeed, exactly right. Yeah, I think that's the key, really. It's just who's done the setup work and the homework the best. Apologies, just R-Factor Man screaming in my ear as he always does. You always know you're in for a good night when you hear R-Factor Man just absolutely scream at the top of his lungs into your headset or whatever you're listening to the broadcast on. It's always a fantastic sound to have. So we're just getting ready to go here for the first race of tonight. There is a warm-up, so we can go through the grid as they all do their warm-ups. So that is good. Actually, no, we're in the warm-up now, apparently. Oh, we're 10 minutes more. Okay, so they'll think that... Oh, they've restarted warm-up. Right, okay. Okay, yeah, we're waiting on someone to rejoin. Apologies, that's why we've restarted the warm-up. So we'll just wait for the driver to rejoin, then we can start. I believe we're waiting on Joe Watts, I believe it is. He must have only just left as the race was or was going to race, so having to wait for Joe to get back in. But once he's back in, we'll go green. But yeah, as you said, Sam, it's certainly a very high-class field. That's the thing I've noticed with this. I think Sven, he's done a very good job in gathering together a lot of very, very talented drivers to race in this series. He really did work very hard in getting in touch with a lot of teams, a lot of drivers, and really trying to sell the league and really try and get it as talented as he possibly can, straight from the get-go, which really is quite a fantastic achievement, I think, to have such a diverse and talented field on the very first outing of the league. It really is quite something. So hopefully it's going to be a very hard-fought season ahead, and I think as we can see with the names that are here on the grid, I think it's going to be certainly a very high-fought one with such talent throughout the field. So I guess while we wait, I'll quickly mention my sort of plugs for this race. I mean, Sven obviously himself, Sven de Vries, is obviously very talented in R Factor 2 himself, so I think he'll be one to watch for this race. Obviously both Brugman brothers, really. I mean, Lars probably more so, but both the Brugman brothers are extremely quick drivers, so they'll definitely be ones to look out for. And even the likes of Francesconi, Eris Biscioli there at Pescara, they're very talented drivers as well, and could rear their heads towards the front end of the field. So yeah, definitely I think a lot of possibilities here. I think I'm just looking through. I was looking for a certain driver. I don't think he's here, is he? Looking through, he isn't. Eric Stram was the name I was thinking. Sure, Sam, you might have been thinking the same there, but just thinking Eric Stram was the name, and yeah, he's not here, is he? So ice cold. I only have Tobias Olsen here, which is a shame because, as we know, Eric is very, very fast in R Factor 2, and imagine if him, all those guys at the front, it would have been quite a fascinating battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's any name that we haven't mentioned, that's just because the quality of the field is so high. It's hard to kind of identify all the drivers right now that are here. This is just really exciting because some of these guys I haven't really seen racing in the same series before in other leagues either. So it's going to be a real kind of interesting, I guess, finger in the water test to see who is the best of the bunch right now, at least with these cars and who's done their work with them. It really could come down to anyone, and well, I think the start is going to be very, very important, and it sounds as though it's going to be a little bit difficult for the drivers as well, so we could see anything kick off on the start line.
Yeah, indeed. No, it's going to be a very fascinating run down to turn one on these cars. They're certainly, as you say, very weird, very interesting cars to drive. I was finding anyway, as I said, when I was doing a few laps, just found them a bit interesting to do. And I think also the launch control is not, it's not as maybe efficient as you'd be used to out of launch control, out of sort of other Formula cars that use it in R Factor 2. So that's going to make the starts even more interesting. We could have a few people maybe not quite getting the starts they're after. And the like, which I think is a good thing. It's making it a lot more about trying to skillfully sort of get this car off the line, which is going to make it quite fascinating to watch the start of this one. But yeah, it's definitely, as you say, it's hard to pick out everyone in this field because there's just so many quality names, and just as you say, there's a few names I can see in the field that have raced at other leagues that I know of, and am a part of, but they haven't all raced together in the one place. So it's going to be really interesting to see where these guys from these other leagues haven't really raced everyone else. See how they fare against some of the almost R Factor 2 veterans, you could say. The likes of the Brugman brothers. And the likes of those guys. So, and Sven de Vries himself, even as I said. So, yeah, just waiting on Joe to return from whatever issues he's having, and then we will be good to go as soon as he gets back in. But while we're waiting, I'll just quickly, and I'm sure he'll pop in the moment I get started on this particular conversation. But I was just, while we're waiting, thinking to the BMWs, Sam. They've got a pretty, in terms of teams at least, obviously all the drivers yet to be really revealed for the BMs just yet, but the teams in that are also quite, there's some quite talented teams within the BMWs themselves. In the first round, that's Donington. I believe it's in about a week. I think it's the 24th, I believe, it's the first round of that. And, plenty of talented teams and drivers in that. And that one, I think, as well, is going to be just as interesting to watch as the F3s will be.
Yeah, that's it's going to be interesting as well because it is a completely different series. It's not another single-seater series. It's tin tops effectively, isn't it? A proper-looking car is the BMW, and Yeah, I'm really interested in that as well, and I'm super excited, of course, because the first round is at Donington, my home track. I'm literally 20 minutes away from it. I've been there far more times than I can ever remember, so it's a fantastic track to start any series out on, and it's going to be one that's perhaps a little bit more difficult than Silverstone. Certainly less room for error around that track as well. And yeah, absolutely right. The teams started to shape up very interestingly indeed. It's still, I think there's still a few seats available, isn't there, in terms
I
of
believe so, yeah.
teams and definitely drivers. So if anyone's watching on and they're maybe interested in getting involved and can't get into the Formula 3 right now because it's pretty full, there's of course the BMW series, like you said, alternating with the F3 series each week. So definitely one to have a look at if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you want your tin top action, the BM is a very good car driver. It's obviously the older version. It's the E90 version of the BM, so it's the older BM touring car, but it is still a fantastic car. It is a great fun car to drive and does produce really close racing because they aren't the most powerful. So it's all about the lines and trying to optimize, the momentum through corners to keep the speed up. So, as Joe enters we've just gone to race, by the way, as I'm sure is obviously on the broadcast, and Joe's just entered back in right as we've gone to race. So we waited for him as long as we could, and unfortunately he's joined after we've gone to race. So yeah, unfortunate, but such is the way with sim racing. So as the drivers go in their formation lap, we'll go through the grid. So on pole position for this feature race is Jarl Tyen in that number 6 Formula 3 car. Second off the grid is going to be Mr. Sven de Vries in the number 32. Very striking livery they've got there. Satellite Racing, as we'll mention as well with this, as this goes on, very, very pretty liveries throughout this field. Very, very colourful, I've got to say. So big kudos on that one as well. Third place, Lars Brugman, number 30, Wells Automotive car. Then in fourth, Boer Milan, number 12, Multiforce GP car. Niels Brugman is the 5th spot, number 31, second Welters Automotive entry, with Wipke Hoekstra in 6th for CM Tech. Tobias Olsen in the lone Ice Cold Racing car for tonight in P7, with Jonik Simicic in the number 24 machine in P8. Michael Francesconi, the number 99 machine, is in P9, with Robin Mason running at top 10 in the sole drag racing car for today. Jason Muscat is P11 for the second Multiforce, with Chris Kinsman in P12 there. P13, Philip Koenig in the first of the Sachs racing cars, with Mike Quint in P14, number 66 machine. And then rounding at top half of the field is Oskari Kentonen in the number 7 Adonis entry.
Yeah, so following on from that, in P16 is Roy Verzile, who's racing for TR Bluevos Motorsport, and I believe he's the only driver for them today as well, so he'll be trying to pick up all the points for the team. Then we've got Masai Milinek for Hawkeye Racing behind him in 17th. Terence Gretsch is in 18th for TG Racing, followed by Wesley Stefano in 19th for EJ Engineering. Otto Soininen for Adonis Engineering is in 20th, with Christopher Lichtenstein for MDR Motorsports behind him. Then it's Rennick Hoekstra for CM Tech in 22nd, and Adam Oscar for Deltec Racing in 23rd. Theo Boyd Brink, I'm not sure if it's all one word on my screen, so I'm not sure how his name should be pronounced, in 24th for Woods, with Roy Schroten in 25th for Racing Team Schroten. Then it's Brett Metcalf for Deltec Racing 26th, and Casper Owen for Stax Racing in 27th. And then the final two drivers on the grid in 28th and 29th are Jacob Pegg for Satellite Racing and Paul McKenna for Woods Racing.
There you are. There's your 29 runners for this first race. Joe Watts, of course, not quite getting back in to the server in time, so I'm sure he'll stick around, though, for the sprint race. But yeah, 29 runners and riders here. Very, very strong field. Very colourful field, too, as I said. A lot of very pretty liveries in this field, and I've definitely got to give kudos to all the teams who are just producing such a beautiful grid that we can commentate on here today for this first feature race. Everyone lining up now. I've just got the last couple of positions coming in now to get the grid sorted, and then we can get this feature race underway. 22 laps, all time certain for this first race of the Formula 3 Championship here at WCS League. And who's going to come out on top? Will it be Jarl? Will it be Sven? Will it be Lars? Who knows? We're about to get underway, and we are green flag here at Silverstone. Oh no, it's bogged down. Jarl's gone. Oh, Jarl didn't go anywhere, and he's been absolutely smashed by the car behind. Oh, there's big contact as he's still getting hit from the guys further back. Unfortunately, Jarl just went nowhere. He didn't move off the line. He is already in big trouble, but down towards the stadium section, the field goes. Sven de Vries leading at the moment, but Lars Brugman looking down the inside as they head towards the back straight, and Lars has got him. So Lars leads for Wales Automotive from Sven de Vries. Tobias Olsen for Ice Cold Racing in third. Great start from him. Boy Milan in P4 for Multiforce as he holds position. Sven looking again to get back at Lars. Already look at everyone darting everywhere as they try and defend their position as they head down towards the back part of the circuit. Lars holds for the moment. Sven is right there in P5, though would be Holster as well. Simincic has got himself up to P6, a good start from him, and generally a few guys, really nice start. Philip Koenig, by the way, up to P10, so he's had a really nice start on this opening lap, but everyone getting through this opening lap relatively okay, apart from that first start line incident, but big trouble that was for poor old Jarl. He's still going, but he has got heavy damage, so he'll have to pit for repairs, and poor Brett Metcalf and Adam Oscar, it's both Deltec cars, were involved in that. Real shame for them. They just had nowhere to go because it was just Jarl in the middle of the circuit on the racing line, so nowhere they could go. So real shame for Deltec that both their cars already involved in an incident on this first lap, but certainly plenty of excitement so far, isn't it, Sam? As Lars under big pressure right now from Sven.
Yeah, it's certainly been about these two in the past, and once again they're at the front of the field, and Lars Brugman doesn't even defend here going round the final couple of corners as we come to the end of our first lap. And behind him, though, Tobias Olsen and Borja Milan are also there, along with Sven de Vries, so they haven't broken away any of these drivers yet. It's still looking fairly close as we come to cross the start-finish line, where, fortunately now, all the carnage has gone away after that dreadful start for Jarl Tyne. He was just a sitting duck and just had to watch the field go by him, and unfortunately, a couple of guys just got caught up unsighted there. But back to the front now, and Michael Francesconi's been hit off. Oh wow, and he's into the wall. I think that I'm not quite sure who that was that hit him off, but he's gone into the wall. No apparent damage, but I bet he's got a bent suspension from that, and he gets back going again.
Yeah, indeed. No, it was Oskari Canton, and I think he just mistimed his braking. He's just broken where he would normally brake, and that wasn't where Francesconi broke. So in the end, they've just sort of come together, and then just big contact there, and that was what that was. But either way, Lars Brugman is under all sorts of pressure right now from St. Vries. Tobias Olsen, by the way, plug for him. He's up there fighting with these guys. Fair game. So fair game to Tobias here. He got the beautiful start, cleared the trouble, didn't get involved in the incident. He's currently in P3 for Ice Cold. So great start from Tobias here. He's actually challenging Sven down towards the back half of the circuit, and he's not quite able to do anything through the sweeper, not going to be able to do anything there. Very hard to overtake at that corner. In these cars, hard enough to get through that corner, I found, without actually spinning, let alone actually passing someone through there. But either way, Lars holds for the moment, but Sven's still right there. Tobias, Linus Sterling behind him. Oh, there goes Whoopie Oakster. He goes wide in the rhythm section. He's going to lose a spot to Yernik Simincic, but he's going to pop back out in P6 or maybe P7. Rob Mason, P7, by the way. Plug to Rob. And he's having a look now at Whoopie Oakster as they go down the hanger straight, and he's got it done before the end of the corner. Yeah, so there you go. So Rob into P6. I tell you what, Mason's got a beautiful start. Avoided the carnage once again, just like Tobias did, and he's in P6 for drag. Really well done from Rob. Look at this Whoopie Oakster looking to get back down the inside as they head towards the last couple of corners. Oh, he has a look, but not quite close enough to make moves stick, and Rob holds for the moment, and Canton just sort of springing into action there, going, oh, hello, there could be a spot here, so he's there or thereabouts as well. Mike Quint, P9, Mlynek in P10 as well, so Mlynek, another one who benefited very much from that first lap incident on the start line. But Sven de Vries down the inside, yep, down the inside into the stadium section, and he's got it done, but Lars is still there. He holds it around the outside. Can he get the exit? I think he will. Oh, so close, but just leaves enough room. And I think he's gotten Tobias Olsen's like, you know what, I wouldn't mind a little bit of this particular cheesecake, thank you very much. I think he's going to have a little bit of a look down towards the middle part of the circuit. Look at this, and even Boy Milan's involved as well. Four-way fight for the lead right here. So Sven goes wide, and Tobias is through into P2 now, Sam. I tell you what, Tobias Olsen is driving very, very well here in this opening lap, just doing the moves right where he needs them.
Yeah, great opportunist driving there by Olsen. He really didn't have much on as Sven was in the slipstream of Lars Brugman ahead, but got it done. And now Sven de Vries under threat from Boy Milan, and Milan's down the inside at Stowe. Cop, sorry, as well, and that's another position gone for Sven de Vries right now. They've lost a bit of a gap between themselves and the top two as well, but we'll see now if Milan can start to push, and I'm sure Sven will want him to try and catch up as well. As here's something going off around me, and look at that, Jone Simoncic is there in 5th place also, so this is a real good scrap here at the lead. It's basically a 5-car scrap, slightly spread out, but they're all still battling away together as they go down to Stone now. Anyone going to have a look? No, they're not. Rob Mason still holding well in 6th, also just behind these guys, and looking like he's under a bit of pressure, but keeping it cool. Hoekstra is looking down the inside of him, but just puts his nose out to let him know he's there, but nothing's on at the moment.
Indeed, now it's a very, very nice fight at the top end of the field. Those top 5 having the guys spell. It's kind of split into 2 now. The top 2 are just gapping the rest of them, especially as Borja and Sven are battling now. It's just letting the top 2 get away now as Sven looking around the outside as they head in towards the arena section here, and nearly contact there as they go through. I think it might actually hold it around the outside. There's actually a fair bit of grip out there, especially because of the camber. You can really just hang it around the outside, and he's got the move done. Back into P3, and with this Simoncic has gone, hey, you know what, I wouldn't mind a piece of that as well. And he's going to have a look now to get past Milan. Milan is in the slipstream of Sven, though, so you'd think he should have a bit better straight line speed here, but Simoncic will have the inside line as they head into the corner, but look at that, wow, Milan just sweeps around the outside, and he keeps hold of P4. Simoncic slots into P5. Meanwhile, P6 is kicking off as Mason's still trying to hold off against Hoekstra. And now, look at this, and now Canton's having a look as well. So Rob just losing a few spots here. And there's a little bit of wheel rubbing there between Canton and Mason, but they get through without too much damage in the end. And they continue on as Quint just watches and holding brief behind them. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Mlinek. In P10, Stefano, Roy Vergel, sorry. The name there very badly. Apologies, Rory. But he's in P12 there, pressuring Stefano, and then it's Terence Grek in P13, Koenig 14, and then Theo Van Brink is in P15. But we'll go back up to this. Yep, P5. Yep, good spot there from Ben. P5, Sven having been passed now by Simoncic as well. So Sven just not seeming to get the consistency right. It just seems like he keeps falling victim to the guys around him. So big moments for Sven, but Simoncic gets through as they go through Cops, and he's looking to defend as they head into the final few corners. I think he's got it done there, so Simoncic gets the move done, but Sven, he's going to be looking to get back. We know Sven's fast, he just seems to be being caught out so far by the guys around him, but look at that, Simoncic straight to the inside. He knew, he was like, I know what you're doing, Sven, I'm not going to let you just dive down the inside as they head through turn 1. He holds again, and what this is doing, it's actually allowing the pack behind to catch up, so he might well have another 5 or 6 car battle here, but this time for P4 in the next coming lap, Sam.
Yeah, it certainly could be. They're definitely falling backwards, aren't they, rather than forwards. And it's just shown in these first few laps. It seems to be all about just holding your line and just not going offline, because as soon as anyone seems to do that, just the guy behind them just gets a good run and is able to pass them, and then usually once one guy's got past, that opens up the floodgates, and 2 or 3 cars go past at the same time as well. So it's definitely all about conservation when defending at the moment, as it looks like it's carved down just a little bit between about the top 10 cars. They're all slightly spread out. Sven and Simoncic is still fairly close together for 4th and 5th place. Simoncic is just having to defend a little bit as they go up to Maggots and Beckett's. It's not really an overtaking opportunity. It's great to see the cars though being able to follow each other through here and retain some kind of momentum as they go onto the hang straight down towards Stowe. And Lars Brugman right now have 1.6 second lead. You can certainly tell that difference down the straight, and then further behind it's definitely a case of drivers just not quite close to each other going into Stowe this time to really make a move at each other, so the top 10 stays the same as it was half a lap ago.
Indeed, yeah, it's all a bit more line astern now. Apologies, by the way, for earlier on. I pronounced Stowe as Cops. Very sorry there. Get the names wrong here at Silverstone for all the corners quite often, so apologies for that. Trying my best to get them right, but either way, yeah, that battle for P3 looks like it. P12, okay, so we got a battle for P12. Yep, there we go. So we got Roy, and I think Roy's actually just gotten past Grek. Oh, yeah, it's because Stefano has dropped down to P13. Yeah, he was in P11, Stefano, before he's dropped to P13 now. And actually, Koenig and Niels Brugman down to P15. That's interesting to see Niels that far down. He's usually a lot further up the field, but I think he may have had to dodge the lap 1 carnage, so that's why he's a bit further back. He's looked down the inside of Koning, but not quite able to get the move stick. We'll see if he might try and get the exit here, go slow in, fast out. Looks like that's what his plan is, indeed. He's got a pretty good exit, but I think Koning might be able to hold. Depends who's got the better wing, really, as Koning will have the slipstream Stefano up ahead. Let's have a look here as they come down the back straight. Let's have a look and see if he's going to have a look. He's closing. He sticks out, has looked down the inside, but again, look at that. Koning just sweeps it around the outside. Nice little bit of a lock up there mid-corner as the tyres screech in pain, but either way, it's enough to keep Niels behind for the time being. This nice little battle for P14. Good battle in the midfield, and looks like Koning, really, he's holding, but I think it's only a matter of time before Niels gets through as they head down towards Cops. We'll see if he has a look. He has a look down the inside. It's going to be a brave move if he can do it, and no, he doesn't. That's probably the smart thing to do there as Koning goes wide, or having to focus on Niels there behind him, but he holds for the time being. That's a nice little battle pack back there. We have a look back up the field, and there's a couple of battles up the top once again. P3 now. Milan is actually under pressure from Simičić and De Vries, and they're both catching... all three of them actually are catching Olsen as well, so he might have a nice little four-way scrap for P2 soon enough. Lars Brugman holding station in the lead as he is so used to doing these days as well. Look at that, Simičić dives it down the inside of Milan. That was a little bit of a aggressive move from Simičić, but he made it fair and square. Milan saw him coming, gave him plenty of room, and that's Simičić up to P3 now. Very authoritative move right there from him, but that gets him to the podium now. Now Milan's actually having to defend from Sven De Vries as well, so interesting to see this, Sam. I think now that things have calmed down, the true pace of the field is just becoming a bit more obvious here as Milan defends from Sven.
Yeah, it's certainly looking like it. Drivers are getting into the positions of where they should be. While Lars Brugman right now out in front feels like he should be in that position. He's pulling away each and every lap by a good 7 or 8 tenths of a second, so very strong for him. Sven De Vries is still looking at the back of Milan as we go down towards Brooklands. If there's any kind of move going on here, no, there's not. And Kansen also looking at the back of Hoekstra, who got past him on the previous lap as well. These two have been swapping places lap after lap, and it looks like neither's really able to pull away from the other. Although Kansen's just made a mistake there coming through Luffield, and now has Mike Quint all over the back of him into the second half of this lap. I think I heard a spinner further back. Yeah, Chris Kinsman had just had a spin as well, so he's dropped back down into 17th position right now.
Indeed, Kingsman, a little bit of a shame because he qualified quite well, I think. He qualified about 12th or 13th, but unfortunately not quite working for him. But yeah, we've got a nice little battle. P7 is getting very close here. Canton having to really defend from Quint, Mason and Mlinick. They're all line astern. Hoekstra's not far ahead, but I think Hoekstra's got the pace to stay clear as Milan having to defend as they head down towards Stowe. Oh, very, very sharp movements there from Milan. Just shows how nippy these little cars are. You can really just throw them around all over the place. It was very, very aggressive there from Milan, but Simičić again defending. Milan just flicking it with all the aggression in the world to the right. It really is quite amazing to see him change direction so fast, but Simičić holds. But look at that, Sven nearly pushing Milan through the last few corners, but he holds for the time being. It's all very line astern, and Olsen's only just up the road. As Quint's gone wide in the background, that has let, I believe it has, yep, it's let Mason back through. So Mason back through to 8th again, and Quint now drops to 9th with Minick in behind him. That's given Canton some space now. She's got a little bit of breathing space. The guys behind, got about a second now as Mason having to defend very, very hard here from Mr. Mike Quint. And I'll tell you what, I think Quint's got the better pace here. I think Rob's going to have a real struggle to hold here, especially as Canton a bit too far ahead for Mason to get the slipstream effect. Oh, Brookman spun. Oh, he has. Oh, wow. Brookman spun. He has, and he's dropped down to P5. There you go. So Brookman. Wow, that is unusual. Lars, what's going on there? Let's have a look back on the replay. Wow, he just lost it. Just lost it in the mid-corner. That is unusual for Lars. He's usually such a precise operator. He rarely makes mistakes, but there you go, just a casual spin, and he's now back in 5th. So he's got all the work to do, Sam, here to get back in the lead.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's suddenly found himself in a right gaggle of cars now. He's got Milan in front of him, then De Vries, then Simičić and Olsen as well. They're all separated by about 2 seconds. So there's really not much in it between these 5 drivers, and this is shaping up to be quite good of a battle. Simincic has been catching up with Olsen over the last couple of laps, and just behind now, Lars Brugman is looking to the inside of Boyer Milan going into Stowe, and he's got the car right up the inside there, held it on the apex well. Milan kept him close, and Brugman's got the position back, so already he's gained one of those positions he's lost, and now I'm sure his sights are going to be set on Sven de Vries just ahead.
Yeah, indeed, no, it's where he's going to be focusing now as we head towards the 8th lap done now of this race. So already nearly halfway. That's how quick this is going past. It's just, as Roy is into the pits, so obviously he's trying to get his stop done a little bit early, possibly try and undercut. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up as the pit stops sort themselves out. But yeah, very interesting. Tobias Olsen now leading for Ice Cold. So I'll tell you what, credit to Tobias. He's certainly giving Ice Cold a good rap here, despite Eric not being here. So Ice Cold's still looking like they're going to capitalise on who is here if he can hold. But we'll see how this goes. Plenty of fast guys behind him. I tell you what, Simincic is looking very, very feisty for that lead. As Brugman is up to P4, so he's got by Milan. Sven de Vries is his next victim, as it's a lap car just getting out of the way of someone. But yeah, P1. And yeah, look at this. Tobias Olsen having to defend from Simincic as they head towards the sweeping right-hander here. There's not really much room to overtake through this corner. It's a little bit too tight, especially in these cars through there as Sven goes wide in the background. But no love lost there. But Simincic is looking very feisty. I think he's just got that little edge in pace over Tobias. And I can't see Tobias holding on much longer. Wow, look at that. Simincic just taking so much more speed through the rhythm section there as they head down the back straight here towards Stowe. And I reckon Tobias is defending, but I just think it'll be a bit fruitless. He's trying to defend as hard as he can, but he just leaves enough room for Simincic to get through on the inside. And I think it's a little bit of contact, and Tobias goes wide there. He just locked wheels with Simincic in the mid-corner there. Lucky not to spin, to be fair. But I think Simincic is there, just possibly even letting Olsen take it back maybe as well. So that's interesting to see. But what this is doing is what we have once again is a 5-way fight for the lead. And what Simincic has now suddenly found, he's gone from being the attacker to the defender. He's having to defend like a madman from Sven, who's going to try around the outside of turn 1. This is a brave move. Oh, nearly going off there. Nearly 3 wide as they head into the stadium section. And they are 3 wide. Oh, Lars Brugman has a look down the middle there. A little bit of contact between himself and Simincic, but they all somehow get through. I don't know how they've gotten through those corners, but they've all gone through. And somehow they've all come out exactly as they entered, Sam. I don't know how that's all worked, but it worked out somehow.
I don't know how that happened at all. Sven de Vries is still having to defend from Lars Brugman. He was nearly off the track in turn 1, and he's got the inside line here going into the second sector and just about holds on there from Brugman, but they are really, really close. Although, look at that, Simincic is now a full second, about a second and 2 tenths as well behind Tobias Olsen after just losing all that momentum at the end of that last lap. So it shows it's very easy to lose it and difficult to gain it all back up again. And that's what he's got to do now, is try and regroup. But look at Sven de Vries, he's already back onto the back of Simincic after they all kind of reshuffled themselves through that first sector. And now it looks like Simincic might have to just look into his mirrors a little bit going down this hanger straight. He's gone for an interesting line early on. He's got to the very left-hand side of the straight, not even thinking about defending at the moment. I think he's trying to break the slipstream somewhat, and it seems to have paid off, at least for now, as Sven de Vries couldn't really attack. And just behind Boyer Milan was there, and there goes Lars Brugman. He decides to pit, so he's another early pitter here.
Interesting, yeah. So Lars, the first of the leaders to blink, and he's in the pit lane. So it's going to be interesting to see now if any of the others react as well, because I'm fairly sure again, from my short time of practice, I was noticing the front tyres got really hot really quickly, was what I was noticing. So it's going to be interesting to see if the fresh tyres help out Lars as much as I suspect they might. So we'll soon see, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some reactions here from the top guys, because otherwise they might lose a lot of time. And in the end, as we've seen, the pace of these guys is so close that if you lose, a few seconds, that's just can be game over in terms of the fight for position. So we will see as, apparently Lars coming out behind, next to traffic. He is indeed behind, just in front of a lapped car. So he's just got by the lapped car, so it's kind of worked out. But he does have Philip Koenig just ahead of him, and he hasn't stopped. And it will be for position. So Koenig, he doesn't have any, he can fight for the position as hard as he wants. There's no reason or obligation for him to just get out of Lars's way. So it's going to be interesting to see if Koenig does indeed fight it. Niels Brugman, by the way, is up to effective P11, I believe that is, now in the other Wars Automotive car. So he is making some good progress back up the field after the shenanigans early on in the race. The fight further back has also calmed down a bit. Quintus, I think, found himself back into P7, where I think is effective P8, I'm fairly sure, behind Canton. Nick now has gotten past Rob Mason, and Rob Mason now drops down to effective P10 in the sole drag entry. Things a little bit quieter now as everyone just sorting themselves out. I say they're quiet, but not really, because Simičić and Sven are still going out here, and they're still trying to catch Tobias. He's just keeping ahead, and I think a lot of it is purely because everyone else is battling. His pace isn't quite the same as those around him, but because everyone else has been battling, he's been able to just keep consistent, keep clean, focus on, pumping in the laps, and that's been enough to keep him ahead so far. But if these guys can possibly even just sort of stop battling and actually work together, they might be able to get past Tobias. But at the moment, they seem to be pretty hell-bent on squabbling with each other, and that might be to the relieving ears of Tobias Olsen to keep the lead as Munich and Mason pit together. So it's going to be a battle of pit crews for those two, for who comes out first. Brugman and Koenig pit as well. That's very, very timely for Lars. He's now going to have a nice, lovely clear track ahead of him to push those new tyres. So I'll tell you what, Sam, I'm backing Lars here to possibly gain some big time here on the leaders as the top three still fight. Yeah,
as Sven de Vries now looks to the inside of Joni Simičić, going towards Brooklands right there, and nearly got it done. Actually, he has got it done, sorry, I just missed that. He has got up the inside, and Simičić has dropped back down into third. Simičić took a very wide line into Brooklands. It didn't quite pay off, and he's lost the position, but he's right back onto the rear wing of Sven de Vries as they go down towards Kops now. Is he going to have a look up the inside? No, he thinks better of it, really. It's not the easiest place to overtake, and he's just going to follow Sven de Vries through, who's also very close to Tobias Olsen as well. But as you were saying, I think you're right. Lars Brugman has thought about this, and he probably wasn't planning to pit early because he was in the lead, but as soon as he ended up in a battle after his spin, he's decided to pit to get out of this squabble and try and just set some quick lap times on his new tyres. And it is a bit unlike Lars Brugman. He's often been a driver to pit later than other people and pump the lap times in when he's had those extra few laps. As there goes Sven de Vries, he decides to pit now, so he escapes this lead battle, and it'll be interesting now to really gauge where Sven, Milan, who comes in behind him as well, will come out in comparison to Lars Brugman.
Yeah, indeed, and also Quint also pitting as well as Hoekstra. Hoekstra and I think Milan may have the same pit box. It looks like they do. Wow, that's a bit interesting. So, they had the same pit box or they're close to each other. Either way, Milan's now lost a position to Hoekstra thanks to that. So Hoekstra's just waving his fist in the air with triumph at that, I guess. But there you go. So Milan a bit duped there in the pit lane. But either way, he will at least still come out roughly there or thereabouts. He's going to come out P6 now. So a bit of a loss for Milan, loses a few spots, but either way, he's still there or thereabouts. But what it does mean now is... Oh, Lars is pitted. Oh, yeah, Lars is pitted again. What has happened there? Is that... So either he hasn't put fuel in, or was there a penalty, maybe? Maybe he spent the pit lane? That's the only thing I can think of. That is strange. There you go. Yeah, it's got to be... Oh, okay, yeah, it would be, yeah. If it was speeding, it'd be a drive-through, so... Yeah, that is very odd, isn't it, Sam? But either way, Lars Brugman is P16 all of a sudden, and effectively out of this fight for the lead.
I think he's forgotten to do something there then, definitely, whether it was fuel or tyres. It was a long pit stop for him as well, and it's dropped him all the way down to 16th. He's now behind Jason Muscat and Chris Kinsman ahead of him as well. So it's effectively taken Lars Brugman out of the win. He's about half a minute behind Sven de Vries, who's the only guy we can really compare him to, who's also pitted at the moment. So it's probably going to be about that. Look at that, the top two also pit now, so this is going to be a crucial part of the race to see who can gain an advantage.
Yeah, indeed, as Canton continues on, so Canton, the only one of the top guys still going, so he's obviously going for the long play, which could work, because theoretically he should have to take on less fuel than the rest of the field, which could end up saving him those precious few seconds to gain back some track position. So we'll see how that plays out. But here they go at the pit lane, and I think they have held position. There you go. Olsen actually gained a few tenths on Simic there, as they were literally glued together as they entered the pit lane. So Olsen gained some time there, and I think he's going to come out in the lead. He is. There you go. So he holds the lead, and Sven doesn't gain the Simcic. He actually lost time. So there you go. So turns out the undercut apparently not really a thing here in these cars. So yeah, so it's pretty much the same. In fact, if anything, everything's a bit more spaced out. But Hoekstra does move up to P5. Should be effective P4, I would say, as I reckon he'll probably beat out Canton, but we'll see on that. But he has a Milan behind him, but so far they're pretty much holding line astern, those two. It's Mike Quince in P7, then Linux in P8, Rob Mason now in P9 in that Sol Drag. We've got a nice little battle for P10 here with Roy Verjao and Niels Brugman, as Niels continues his charge back through the field after the early shenanigans on that one in that now leading Belgian Automotive cars. So here you go down the back straight, looking like Neil's going to possibly have a look at Roy. Roy goes defensive in anticipation here as they head in through this sweeping left-hand, a very, very difficult corner to pass through, and can be very easy to get it wrong too. If you just go a little bit too wide on that ripple strip there, it can really kill you, especially in these cars, and they can just snap on you a little bit unexpectedly. But either way, Roy holding for the moment, but Neil's looking very, very feisty in that one. Speaking of feisty, we've got a lovely little battle here for P13, as we've got Chris Kinsman, we've got the recovering Lars Brugman, and we've got Jason Muscat there in P13, 14, and 15 respectively. And I think Kinsman here might well get passed by Lars soon. I wouldn't think he'd fight it too much, because he should theoretically be aware that Lars is quite a lot faster than what these guys are doing as Jason Muscat runs wide. So we'll see how this goes, but I mean, it's for position, to be fair, isn't it, Sam? So he has every right to defend this.
Yeah, he certainly does, and well, we could really see who's quick around these set of corners as Askari Kadson also pits from the lead, and Tobias Olsen has already gone past us along with Simoncic and Sven de Vries as he's still in the pit lane, so it's certainly not going to be a close one in terms of positions for them. As Lars Brugman now looks at the inside of Chris Kinsman going into Stowe, and he's already passed by time. They get into the apex of the corner, so a good move by Lars Brugman, and he's slowly recovering some of these positions, but he's now a full 33 seconds behind the leader Tobias Olsen.
Indeed, no, yeah, he's lost a lot of time, unfortunately for him, but he has got P12 and Philip Koenig just up the road, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets past him in the next possibly lap or two, depending on how much faster he's going, which, knowing Lars, probably a lot faster. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets up to him, and there's a little bit of a gap up to this battle for P10, but they are battling. So it's going to help Lars to possibly catch up at a pretty rapid rate of knots. But I say what, Neil's looking very close to Verjao here as they head down the short straight. And I reckon he's going to try on the outside. I think he might. Oh, he tries, but Roy, smart to it, kind of stops it on the apex there and pretty much leaves Niels nowhere to go but to, well, stop. So Niels having to hold station for the moment, but I reckon I can see Niels pretty clearly faster than Roy, but just not quite fast enough as it is to make the move cleanly here. So Roy defending well, to be fair, credit to Roy. He's defending very firmly, but very well. And he holds on at the moment at the back end of 10, and they're actually not far off Mlinik and Mason. If anything, I feel like they're holding on to those two despite their battling, so it's interesting to see if that might even turn to a four-way battle soon enough. But we'll look back, I think, possibly... No, we'll look at P10 as Roy's gone wide, and that has let Brugman through. So Niels into the top 10 now. Roy just a little bit of a mistake again for the rhythm section, just like Hoekstra did earlier on in the race, and that has now let Niels Brugman through. He now gets into the top 10 for Welters. Roy drops out of the top 10 to P11 now. Is looking back at P14. I think Kinsman's probably going to get passed by Muscat here. Oh, it was P2 actually, sorry. We'll look at P2. Oh yeah, look at this Simic under the pump from Sven. Sven has been on a mission since the pit stops. He's caught up to P2 and they're both catching Olsen. So we might have, again, a three-way fight here for the lead in the coming laps as Olsen. He's been consistent. Credit to Olsen, he's been super consistent. But just not quite got the pace to be able to get away from the packs. And Simic having to really defend here from Sven, again having to look for the outside, and we've seen no one's managed to make it stick just yet. And Sven not going to be the pioneer in that particular category as Simic holds on to P2 for the time being.
Yep, it's Sven just runs a little bit wide over the rumble strip there, but keeps up the pace. Yeah, it's been very good by Olsen so far. I don't want to jinx him or anything, but so far he really has put in just what he needs to do, nothing more, nothing less, and just kept the car on the road where it needs to be. Sven de Vries still all over the back of Simoncic and really pressurise him around these next set of corners. Whilst that is happening, Lars Brugman also had a coming together with Philip Koenig, and they both dropped down the order a little bit more whilst all that battling was going on. So not a good day at all for Lars Brugman at the moment. But back with Simoncic and de Vries. De Vries is on his tail, but just not quite close enough to feel confident enough to go for a lunge up the inside into Stowe. And as we enter now Vale, he's still looking, but not really challenging. He's just trying to put the pressure on Simoncic right now and try to get him to make a mistake. It's looking like Simoncic has definitely done his homework in terms of defending. All that experience, of course, a lot of these guys have got an incredible amount of experience, but Simoncic is really utilising it right now and keeping his car placed exactly where he needs it to be to hold off Sven de Vries. Over the onslaught that seems to be every single corner. De Vries has a little look up the inside or around the outside, but never quite close enough at this current time.
Yeah, indeed. Now it's a very nice battle as Lars Brugman back up to P13 while this is going on. Just got past Terrace Grek, and he's now back up to P13. Jason Muscat, P12, thanks to all the shenanigans that you mentioned before, Sam. Jason Muscat now inherits P12, so we'll be happy with that. It's good solid points for Multiforce with Milan in P5. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this battle for P2 because this is quite a fascinating one. And again, they are pretty much on the back of Olsen now. Olsen just, he doesn't have the pace to do it as P4 also. Very close as well with Hoekstra and Milan. Milan on the comeback after being duped a little bit in the pit stop. So a man on a mission here to get back what I suspect he'll feel is his P4. Not Hoekstra's, as he looks down the inside here as they head towards the sweeping right hand. I think he's actually commit here. He is. He looks down the inside. Oh, very close, but very nice move from Milan. Just runs a bit wide there. Hoekstra pretty much being forced to run off as well. But Milan makes the move stick, and he now moves up to P4 in that now lead Multiforce car. And I think he's got set, although Hoekstra was smooth. He had a little bit of a bobble there in the middle of the rhythm section. That just gives Milan a bit of a breathing space. P1 is on. As look at this, Olsen under the pump from Simoncic as he looks down the inside into Stowe, but not quite close enough to make the move stick as they head through the final few corners. Now Simoncic on the defensive again. He's having to go from attack to defense in an instant. Sven, he tries around the outside. He nearly made it stick. Credit to Sven. He very, very nearly held on to that, but not quite able to as Simoncic on the grippy stuff there managed to get the optimal exit, and he holds on to P2. But this battle at lead is very intense indeed as Milan has just got a little bit of a gap over Hoekstra, so he should be clear, you would think, in P4 with Canton actually not far behind. Credit to Canton in P6. He's having a very solid race so far, apart from the early contact at the start of the race. But either way, this battle for the top spot, very, very interesting indeed as we head into the last 4 or 5 laps of this race. Is all Quint's out, actually. Quint's had an accident, apparently, and he's out of the race from P11. Oh, there's a weird accident, too. He's heading to Stowe, and that is a weird accident. I have no idea how he's done that. But anyway, so he just went straight on nearly at Stowe. Very, very weird incident indeed. But he's out, so he's now out of the race, and that now counts 3 retirements from this race to leave us with 26 runners and riders left in this feature-length race. But yeah, this battle for the lead, Sam, is oh so close.
Yeah, it really is. I can't take my eyes off it right now. It's incredibly close. Olsen must really be feeling the heat right now. He's got Simoncic and de Vries all over the back of him. But of course, Simoncic knows he's got to be patient here. He can't just go for a silly move because every time he does and doesn't quite make the move stick, he loses momentum, and that gives Sven de Vries a chance to overtake him. And look at that coming down the hanger straight now. They are literally nose to tail. Simoncic goes to the outside because Olsen has defended early, and he's going to try and go around the outside of him into Stowe. Can he pull it off? Oh, they're so close, and there's contact between the two. Olsen goes around as a full 360 and luckily saves it, but that's Simoncic in the lead now, and de Vries is second, and Olsen recovers in third, but quite a ways back.
Oh, indeed, yeah, just one of those things, wasn't it? It's when the battling is so close, there's inevitably going to be some form of contact. And Olsen, unfortunately, been such a clean race, all 18 laps of it. He's just been so clean, kept out of trouble, kept his nose clean. and finally gets the inevitable little touch happens. Now he's P3, but he's still P3 at least, still in the top 3, and I don't think he'll have damage, so he should be able to hold on the podium depending on how his pace is. But he does have a charging Milan and Hoekstra coming at him, so I'll see how that one plays out in these closing laps. But for the moment, Simčić now leads. Sven de Vries P2, so the battle for P1 continues, but we're now minus 1 Musketeer, so we're down to 2 runners and riders now in this battle for the lead. P3 Olsen further back, then Milan, Hoekstra, Kantonen, Linux P7 with Niels Brugman now up to P8, so credit to Niels on that drive. Verjao in P9 with Rob Mason running up top 10 in the lone drag there. Solid race from those guys. So with Lars Brugman now P11, by the way, so he's continuing his charge, and he may be able to get a top 10 maybe, although Rob is a good 8 seconds up the road, so we'll see on that. But this battle for P1, so close. Simčić having to defend so hard from Sven as they go into the rhythm section here once again, in towards Beckett's and heading through Chapel here, and I wow, Simčić very smooth. That was a superb run. He just got a lovely run through the rim section. He's got a lovely gap now as they head down towards Stowe, and I think he's going to be able to defend that. Look at that fantastic run from Jörnik there. He just ran it so smooth, so fast that Sven just had no answer as they go through Stowe. And yeah, fantastic stuff there from Jörnik, and that's given him a lovely little bit of breathing space now on Sven. And what I'm going to be interested in is, can he now get away from Sven? Because if he can, there's only a few laps to go, and that could be a race win sealed for Hawkeye, which I'm sure they would be very, very happy with here to open up the season for this F3 series, Sam.
Yeah, there would be, but of course I don't think anyone will be counting this as a win right now, considering how close Sven de Vries still is. It's really, really tight between the two, but that was a great final sector by Jörnik Simčić. Really just mastered every single corner there, and you could tell he's driving his absolute heart out right now. He's not thinking about the contact with Olsen. I'm sure that's gone to the back of his mind, and he's just focusing entirely on the road ahead. And Sven de Vries is constantly catching down the straights. The slipstream is definitely pulling him in, but Simčić is just keeping it tidy enough around the corners at the moment. And that's exactly what he's got to do. He's just got to place his car and not make any mistakes. It's one that's not going to go away, is it? They're so close together and they're so consistent, these two drivers. It's absolutely fantastic to watch them go head to head and try to take this win. And look at that, de Vries just goes wide coming out of Kops right there, and doesn't lose any time really, because he went onto the runoff and kept his foot down, kept everything in it. And Simčić has run a little bit wide himself, but just keeps it on the road just about, and got a decent exit onto the hangar straight. But de Vries again right behind him, catching him all the time in towards Stowe, having a look, but just not close enough, and just puts his nose out, but nowhere to go. But gets a great exit coming out of Stowe. He's going to look to the outside towards Vale. Can he try and make a move? No, not quite. He had his nose there, but it wasn't really far enough along to have anything on. But again, Simčić is just having to defend and place his car at every single moment. And again, having to go defensive very early as they head towards Abbey. And Sven is going to try and go around the outside of them. They're side by side through the first corner into turn 2 as well. They're still side by side. And de Vries has surely got this.
Oh.
As he knows Simčić is so late at the brakes, he literally drifts it round into the arena section, loses time because of it. He loses all the grip through the corner. And Sven de Vries takes the lead of this race now. A great move by de Vries. It was set up many, many corners ago. Both drivers did a stellar job of not making any contact there. That was great driving by both these guys.
Yeah, that was a fantastic move there. He set him up way back out of the last corner there. He was just set him up well in advance. And you saw the Jörnik, he tried to just dive it up the inside, desperate dive to keep the position, but just Sven, he saw it coming, went out for the slow in, fast out once again, and just completed the move beautifully. So great stuff from Sven there, showing his class that we know he has. So he now leads, but Jörnik in behind, and I'm noticing, we can already see Jörnik holding on to Sven quite nicely here. So it does seem like, especially with these cars, it seems to be much easier to follow than lead. So I certainly wouldn't say this is over yet, because Simčić is right back onto Sven, and he'll be looking to make a move back past him for this lead. Tobias Olsen not quite able to close. If anything, he's slowly dropping back from these two in P3, but holding on to a solid P3 nonetheless. Hoekstra in P4 has managed to get back past Milan. He's now dropped to P5. Canton still holding on in a solid P6. Malinik 7th. Niels Brugman 8th. Verjean 9th. And then Mason still in P10, but he's got Lars Brugman absolutely bearing down on him at a rapid rate of knots. So we'll see if that changes in these last couple of laps. Last lap, sorry, as next lap by will be the final lap of this race. Sven leading for the moment, but Simoncic is right there. But Sven, he's got a nice little buffer. It's just enough. It's only about 3 or 4 tenths. But that's all you need. Is he's straight away the inside, trying to break the slipstream of Simoncic as they go down the main straight, and does a decent job of it. Simoncic not really able to close as they go through the first corner. And I think Sven he's far enough ahead for the moment, but it can all change with just one bad run through a corner, and suddenly you've got someone all over the back of you. As Yernik had a pretty good run there through the stadium section, but Sven pretty much equals him as they head down the short straight here to head towards the middle part of the circuit. And I think Sven is just far enough ahead that the slipstream's not quite going to be enough. And he holds as they head into sweeping left-hander, double apex corner, very, very difficult one to get through. But they both get through it pretty damn cleanly, I have to say. And Sven, he's still holding, but Yernik gets a nice little wobble there out of the sweeping corner there. And I reckon Sven, he's holding, but Yernik is just throwing everything he has at him right now. He's just hanging it all out. Right now, leaving absolutely nothing in the garage, and I don't know. It's hard to call as they both run, so they're just using so much curb through cops. It's quite interesting to see as they get through the rhythm section now. Sven's still holding on, but Yernik, he's right there. This is where Yernik's been so strong throughout the entire race, and he's had a very good run through there. And I'll tell you what, he's going to be looking as they head down towards Stowe. Sven's going to be looking in his rearview mirror. He's defending already as they head down towards Stowe. Will he defend all the way? Pretty much. Yernik decides that the inside not good enough. He's going to try around the outside. And Stowe and they made contact. Oh, and they're both gone off. Tobias, is he close enough? I don't think he is. And Sven still holds on despite the contact. Yernik just dives it up the inside. That is a ballsy move, but it's still not enough. And Sven holding, but they're so close as they exit the last corner. Who's going to have it? They head down towards the line. Sven, I think he's ahead. Who has it? Sven has it just by 0.043 of a second. Sven wins this feature race. That was a crazy end of the race. Boy, oh boy. Apologies there. The voice nearly left me there. That was so exciting. God, that was craziness, that finish. I think I've seen such an exciting end to a race. But Sven literally just holds the win from Simoncic, who takes P2 for Hawkeye. A great win there. Great battle from those two. What a fantastic way to end that first race. Tobias Olsen not quite close enough to take advantage of that little contact there through Stowe, but he still holds on to a solid P3, so I'm sure Tobias will be happy to get the podium there for Ice Cold. Whoopke Hoekstra, a good race for him for CM Tech to take P4. It's a very, very solid result there, helped by a very nicely placed pit stop. Wink, wink. Poy Milan takes P5 there in the lead multiforce. Good solid race from him all round. Canton taking P6 with Minnick P7. Niels Brugman in the lead. Wouters P8, a solid sort of recovery drive from him. Verjean P9 with Rob Mason holding on to a top 10 for the Sol Dre. Good drive from Mason. Brugman managing to recover to 11 after a bit of a topsy-turvy race for him, so still points of some kind for him, which I'm sure he will take. Jason Muscat P12 in the second multiforce with Teres Grek P13. Wesley Stefano P14 for EJ Engineering with Chris Kinsman holding on to P15. Philip Koenig down to P16 after the contact with Lars earlier in the race. So a bit of a shame there for Philip, as he was looking on for top 15 throughout that race. Jarl Tyen gets up to P17 in the end. Of course, he had the issue off the line, so he managed to recover to get P17. So a solid recovery drive from Jarl. Nonetheless, Francesconi, P18, probably a little bit further down than he would like, so a little bit disappointing, I'd say, from Michael there. Rory Schroten in P19 with Theo Van Brink, P20. Rink Hoekstra, P21 with Toka Peg at P22. Casper Onwinge, P23 in the second of the Stacks Racing cars with Paul McKenna in P24. And I think it is indeed Brett Metcalf rounds out your finishes in P25 with Liechtenstein, Quint, Otto Sienen, and Adam Oscar being your 4 retirements from this race. I tell you what, Sam, that was quite exciting. I think it's a bit of an understatement from that first race.
Yeah, that was a great first race to really get us into the series, wasn't it? There was a battle for the lead, really for the top five for much of the race there. It boiled down into a two-horse race for the final 2 or 3 laps between Simoncic and Sven de Vries, and what a close finish as well. They both went off the track at Stowe. They came back on, and Simoncic gave it a last corner dive into Vale as well, just for good measure. That you'd have thought they were both battling for the title, and it was the final round of the season. It was that good between the two of them, but somehow they both kept it pointed in the right direction with all wings on it, and such an incredibly close finish as well. That was really something to keep us guessing right to the end there, and really just a thoroughly enjoyable race. So exciting throughout, and what a way to start off. I'm glad we've got another one coming up, because I don't think I could wait another week or two for another race after one just like that. Really good effort, and not just between those two as well. There's other guys through the field that also had incredibly good races. Tobias Olsen was very unlucky there to lose out on that top place battle when he had contact with Simoncic. I'm not sure if it was anyone's fault or anything like that, as I only got one look at it, so it would be unfair for me to comment on it right now. But apart from that, he had a great race, and in all fairness to him, nothing against him, but before this race, if you had asked me to pick three drivers for the podium, he wouldn't be one of the guys that I would have said that would have gotten to the podium. And well, that's just a great surprise, really, a good surprise to see Tobias doing such a good job in third place also. And this second race as well, it's going to be interesting, because we've got the likes of Lars Brugman and Jarl Tyne as well, who didn't have the races they wanted to have in the first race, and they'll be looking to try and pull something back also, and make up for the issues that they had in the first race, and get as many points as they can to get their season underway in the second race here at Silverstone.
Indeed, yes. We have 10 minutes of warm up here or 10 minutes break, really, to the second race, which will obviously be the sprint race. So half distance of that first one will be 11 laps long. So a nice little short sprint to bring it home for this one. And it's top 10 reversed, we've been told, for this second race. So it's going to be interesting to see. So that does actually mean that Lars and Jarl don't get the reverse grid. So they're both going to be starting from further down the field. Jarl just outside the top 15. So it's going to be interesting to see them coming through. And hopefully, for the field's sake, Jarl doesn't have issues with the start like he did last time, because I suspect much chaos would befell the field if that did happen. So fingers crossed he can have a bit of a clean start this time, and we can have a nice clean one to start the sprint race. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. I actually believe Rob Mason is actually going to be on pole, if my memory serves me right. So Ben will be very happy with that, I'm sure. So yeah, it's going to be a drag on the pole, the sole drag. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes defending there. As I know, Robbie's a very consistent campaigner. He's not necessarily always the quickest, but generally always very consistent. That's generally his thing. And very clean too. He'll fight as hard as the next guy, but I don't think he doesn't fight as hard as some others would, which can be his benefit a lot of the time, because it does mean that he can avoid a lot of incidents, and he just cruises past them and is able to really benefit from others making mistakes and getting in little contacts. So yeah, it's going to be interesting on Sam. I don't really know who to pick for the next one. There's so many possibilities, isn't there, with some of the big guys down the field and some of them sort of closer to the front. It could be really anyone who could win the second one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting, and something that we don't know too much about yet is how easy it is for a guy who won the first race to be able to come through in the second race and try and pass guys that maybe aren't quite as quick as him, but are of a fairly similar standard. It's not like there's a 10-second lap time difference between the best and the worst, or the least competitive in the field. Better way of putting it, really. And that's what I'm really interested in seeing, because we saw in that first race that after about 3, 4, 5 laps, the field just kind of split up a little bit, and you got little pockets of battles rather than one long train of cars or just like one guy passing the whole field. You got these little pockets of battles that stayed around about each other. So I think it showed that it is a little bit difficult to pass a guy and then pull away from him unless there is a big speed differential between the two drivers. As I think, especially down the straights and stuff, you're really able to benefit from the slipstream in these cars, and that's why I'm really interested to see if the likes of Sivacic, De Vries, Lars Brugman, and Yartine are able to come through these guys, or if they're going to get bogged down in a battle, and maybe that means that we get a slightly unexpected winner in these sprint races, considering they're also shorter races as well.
Yeah, it's going to all play out a bit interestingly here for this one, especially if we have a bit of a cleaner start. Then we'll have some more of the top guys probably fighting in amongst the top end of the field. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. I'm certainly quite keen to see how this one plays out, especially being a sprint race. It's always with the sprint races, it always brings out a bit of the red mist, so to speak, a bit of the desperation that it comes up being a sprint race. You've got less time to get the moves done, so people a little bit more willing, I suspect, to do some more risky moves, given the less time to make up positions. So could see some interesting moves done in this second race. Especially Philip Koenig nearly spin out of the pit lane there in the warm-up. But yeah, what we will do actually, well, it seems we've got a little bit of time left here. We've got about 7 minutes till race 2. So if you want to get a refreshment or anything like that, now's the time to do so before we start the sprint race. But I will ask Mr. Ben Willis on the cameras. What are your thoughts on the first race, Ben? I'm sure you're having a great time watching that on the cameras there. But what are the thoughts from you?
That was a absolutely mega first race, wasn't it? I was on the edge of my seat for most of it. That was some crazy action, and I think it highlights how good these F3 cars are with following each other. The fact we were having, gaps of a tenth of a second or 2 tenths. We had groups of 5 cars at one point for the lead. It was just insane. So race 2, just looking for more of the same. It was all relatively clean out there. There were a few bumps, but mostly pretty well behaved for a first race of the season.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I have to agree. There's a few little moments, but considering it's the first race of the season of a new league, despite very, as I said, very high quality field, but it is still the first race of the season with a new league, and a few of the guys here, probably haven't raced each other before, so it's some new competition for some of the guys. And yeah, as you said, it was relatively clean, really. I mean, the only major thing, of course, was Jarl had the issue off the line. But aside from that, everything else is pretty good, really. A few little knocks here and there, but it's going to happen, especially in these F3s, because they're just so close and they promote such close racing. There's going to be the odd bit of contact as well. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating second race. It's really I don't know who to pick for this one, but there's a good probably half dozen guys at least that could win it, especially with everyone who will inevitably be battling at the front. That's going to bring the likes of Lars, the likes of Niels Brugman as well, and Jarl. They're going to all come back into this because the front guys are going to be holding each other up so much. So I got to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 10-car train or more at the front of the field as they all score for position. It really is just going to be manic, I think, but in the best way possible, Sam.
Yeah, it really is. We had a few issues there at the start of the first race, didn't we? We had a few coming together, but really it was the majority very clean. It was just the fact that Ty installed on the start line and everyone kind of had to find a way around him at the very last second, and then of course that compromises everyone's line. It all kind of bunches the field up going into turn 1 as well, and it just got a bit hectic, but anything could happen in the second race, and I think with the reduction in laps compared to the feature race as well, I think guys are going to be feeling a little bit more desperate going into the second race. Maybe we'll see the desperate lunges come in a little bit earlier on, just like they did right at the end of that first race. It got very interesting stuff, but in a whole, though, the racing certainly wasn't dirty. I felt it was good racing, pretty fair between most of the battles. There was a few bits of contact here or there, but that's mainly sometimes you can't avoid it. It's often a racing incident with those kind of things, and that's what was also good to see. So I think we might see some dives and some guys getting a bit kind of pressured to attack a little bit more on than they did in the first race, but I still think it'll be a clean one nonetheless.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no, I think might be still probably a little bit of rubbing. I expect there'll be at least a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of some very very close racing at least in these cars. So I think they sort of promote that being obviously a little bit slower than the likes of Formula One car or anything like that, having a little less power and all that kind of thing. It really does promote some pretty insane racing, as we saw on that first race. So yeah, it's going to be quite a fascinating one to watch. And if you want to get involved in this, obviously the website www.wcsleague.net. That is the league website. So if you want to get involved, head over there. Got the forum and all the information on the 2 series running at the moment, but I'm sure there's plenty more planned in the works. And as we were saying, I think before, I'm fairly sure there's still a seat or two going in the BMW series, which starts next week. So if you're interested in doing a bit of tin top action, might be worth having a look to see if there's still some seats available for that, because I suspect there might still be 1 or 2. So yeah, if you want to get involved, head over to the website and have a look around, because it's certainly, as we saw just then, I mean, you don't really have to say anything, you just look at the race, that first race, and that basically says it all. So yeah, really, really very close racing, high quality field that we've got here. And yeah, the second race is just going to be beyond beyond interesting and beyond fascinating as we head towards it. Just over 2 minutes to go in the warm-up here, the little break between the races to give the drivers a chance, and us, and well, all of us really, after that, to sort of cool back down again and prepare ourselves for the second race. And I was so tempted to quote "the winter is coming" right then, but I thought I'd better hold off from that because it's a bit too cliched, isn't it? But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race, this one, Sam. And I mean, I could ask you who to pick here, but as we were saying, I mean, there's just too many guys to pick for the win. It's near impossible to pick that one person, isn't it, who could win this second race?
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head now, thinking about the grid and where everyone's going to be placed for this second race. Not remembering the whole 30 cars. I certainly can't do the whole 30 cars, but just the guys close to the front. I kind of feel like Milan might have something to prove after that first race. He had a good first half of the race. It was up there with Simoncic and De Vries, and then just fell back in the pit stops. I don't quite understand why his first pit stop was so slow. Whether he had a bit of damage or something, I don't know, but it cost him a bit of time and he never really recovered from it. So I'm just wondering whether Milan might be able to take the win here in this second race. He's starting slightly higher up the grid compared to Simic and De Vries and Olsen as well. So maybe if he could get a good start, get through a few of the guys ahead of him, perhaps he could be the one to get the win in the second race here today, and it would be a good result for him after a strong showing for that first race. Another driver I didn't quite expect to be as high as he was, although he is a very good driver from what I've seen. It's in his past exploits in R-Factor 2.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no, he's definitely a very talented driver. We're interested to see where he can end up in this second race with the reverse grid and with everyone being a bit mixy-mashy, so to speak, in this sprint race. So yeah, we've got about just under 30 seconds to go now before we head to the grid and we hear the lovely R-Factor man's shouting voice as he screams in our ears to tell us to clear the grid. It's okay, I'm sorry, sir, I'm leaving the grid now, I swear. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans out in this one as we head towards it. Yeah, I don't really know to pick either. I'm a bit at a loss for who to pick out. I guess probably Tobias, to be honest. I'll keep an eye on Olsen. He can spring some surprises. He certainly, if he's on the ball and if he avoids instances we saw in that first race, he can always be one who's sort of around about in the fight. Hoekstra as well. He's got some really good pace and he'll be there or thereabouts as well. If issues happen, if there is some instances and some crashes, especially with the top guys, as R-Factor Man does the usual scream at the top of his lungs. If there's any sort of instance or any of that, I reckon one to watch would be Rob Mason. As I said, he's not the quickest of the drivers out there, but he's always very consistent, and he always, as I said, he's just always got this knack for generally avoiding any sort of crashes or instances, so that he can then gain a lot of time that way. So if anyone benefits from that kind of thing, I feel like Rob might be the guy to do that. So he might be one to watch, especially if things get a bit hairy with some of the guys coming back through the field further back. So go through the field once again as they do their warm-up lap. and lead them off as they are just about to start the warm-up lap, just waiting for one or two guys to head on track. I think they just made it. A few of them just cutting a bit fine, but they go on track in time. So lead them off on pole, reverse grid pole position is Mr. Rob Mason for Drag Racing. Roy Vergeau in P2 in the Soul MDR car with... sorry, not MDR, got the wrong team. Brabus Motorsport, that's it, sorry. This is the ones I'm after. Niels Brugman, P3 for Wells. He's also one who could be up there challenging for the win. As we saw, his pace is very good. Just got a little bit misstepped from that lap 1 instance, so keep an eye on Niels to possibly be in that fight for the win. Linnick in P4 for Hawkeye with Oskari Kansanen in P5. Bohr Milan in P6 for the Multiforce team after a strong first race. Wookie Hoekstra looking to possibly get another top 5 would be good for him and good for CM Tech as well in P7 to start this one. Tobias Olsen, of course, after that podium and for leading for much of that first race for Ice Cold, he'll be starting P8. Simic, of course, P2 in that first race after that fantastic battle at the end there with Sven. He'll be P9 here on the reverse grid with Sven de Vries behind him, of course, rounding out the reverse grid positions in P10. Lars Brugman, of course, after the topsy-turvy first race for him in that Welsh car, he'll be still P11, so still in the region to possibly get a good result in this second race. Jason Muscat in the second of the Multiforce cars in P12. Pretty quiet race for him. Usually see him a lot further up in other series elsewhere, but P12 for him here, so he'll be looking to improve on that in the second race. Teres Grek in P13 with Wesley Stefano in the EJ Engineering car P14. Rounding out the top half of the field is Chris Kinsman there in the number 0 car.
If you just heard the crash noises going on in the background, don't worry, it's just the bollards going flying on the old pit straight, so don't worry, everyone's still driving around and warming up their tyres. So the second half of the grid now is starting with Philip Koenig in 16th place for Stax Racing, followed by Jarl Tyen, who had a coming together with Chris Kinsman right at the end of that first race and lost a position or two over the last couple of corners for TG Races 17th. He'll be starting in. Michael Francesconi for Pescara in 18th place with Roy Schroten in 19th. Then we've got Theo van der Brink. Sorry for butchering your name in the first race. I've got it right this time. He'll be starting in 20th place for Woods Racing with Rennick Hoekstra in 21st and Jacob Pegg in 22nd for Satellite Racing. Then behind him is Casper Owen in Stax Racing, the second Stax Racing car in the field, with Paul McKenna, second Woods Racing car in 24th. Then Brett Metcalf for Deltec Racing and Christopher Lichtenstein, one of our retirees in the first race for MDR Motorsports, with his teammate Mike Quint right behind him in 27th, another retiree from the first race, with Otto Soinen joining him on the penultimate row. And our final row is Adam Oscar and the guy who's going to be hungry more than anyone else, Joe Watts, who makes it into this race. So hopefully he can get away and at least get a few laps in this time around.
Indeed. So Adam Oscar, by the way, starting from the pit lane, so he'll be hoping to avoid the early chaos. So here we go. Ready to go here. Race 2 at Silverstone. Round 1 of the F3 series here at WCS. And we are away as they head off the line. Generally clean, I say that, but a few guys further back haven't really gone anywhere. I think one of them may have been Oskari Kansanen. He has just gone nowhere off the line as they head into turn 1, and it's pretty much all nearly line astern as Borja Milan and Whoopke Hoekstra have had to go off the track, and they rejoin now. Oh, Hoekstra is hitting one of the signs there, sending it flying, one of the braking markers, but they all get through. Oh, it's crashed Lars Brugman. He's round. There's all sorts of carnage further back. Lars Brugman's involved. Simoncic is involved. And I think there's a whole bunch of other guys as well involved. As Canton might be involved as well as he spins again. Oh no, Canton's gone as well. Oh, big crash with Jacob Pegg, and there's all sorts of chaos going on further back. Oh my goodness, there's just, it is basically a game of pinball at the back of the field right there. People going all over the place. I'm hearing more contact up ahead as, oh no, Quince and Jarl Tyen around. Jarl again, he just cannot catch a break. As Chris Kinsman's around as well. It's all just gone completely manic in this second race. Everyone just, the red mist is well and truly descended as we go through. But while everyone else has been crashing out, Rob Mason still leads, but he now has Niels Brugman behind him in second. Tobias Olsen is already up to P3. Already, just from avoiding the carnage. Great start for him. Linek in P4 with Sven de Vries already up to P5 as well. So Sven one of the few top guys to get away with that in the opening lap. Rookie Hoekstra is behind him in P6. Vergiel now P7 with Matt Musk up to P8. He had a strong start as well. As P1, yep, is a nice pass going here. Niels Brookman up the inside of Mason into Stowe, and I think Mason's not going to fight it too hard. He's trying to hold it around the outside, but he slips back in. Oh, this is Olsen's going to try as well. Head into Vale. Oh, it's contact with the 2. Mason makes the move. That was a very a firm move from Mason. Nearly drifted it in Emoji P style into Vale, but he makes the move. Credit to Mason there. That was a very interesting move, but he makes it stick as they're still side by side through the first corner for this battle for P2. Sven now has suddenly found himself in P3 here as he tries to go around the outside of Niels Brugman. It's going to be an interesting fight here to see if he gets it done. He holds around the outside. The camera of the corner kind of lets you do that through that corner of the stadium section, and I think Sven has done it, and he has. He's up to P3 already. Sven looking very strong, and if things keep going cleanly for him, I wouldn't be surprised if he's very much in contention for this race win, Sam.
Yeah, very interesting start there, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Sven de Vries has had an excellent start as just behind Verzile and Muscat are battling out for 8th and 9th, and it looks like Milan as well, just ahead in 7th place. I think that was Milan actually taking the position there from Verzile, who's balling back into the clutches of Muscat now. Muscat is going up the inside of him, going down the old pit straight, and it looks like this one's going to be one that Verzile can't hold on to. And Sven de Vries is side by side with Olsen going through cops, and Sven de Vries just managing to hold it on the track just about, but certainly lost a bit of momentum there, and Niels Brugman and Hoekstra are right behind him as well. Oh, there goes Niels Brugman spinning, and he's going to come back onto the track, and Masai Malinik has to take avoiding action to avoid all of that, and somehow gets away with it. That could have been an absolutely huge crash there, but I think they've all got through fairly unscathed. They're all back underway, but that means that Milan is now up into 4th place. So after not the best of starts, he's now picking up the positions once again and trying to catch up. But these 3 leaders have really pulled away right now. Rob Mason doing an excellent job keeping it calm, cool and collected, with also De Vries battling right on behind him as we complete the second lap. The field is really starting to take shape now.
Yeah, indeed, it's just such a manic start. The red mist is just absolutely poured onto the field here as Olsen defending from Sven. He goes too deep, and Sven just goes, "Thank you very much, sir." And I think Tobias just got a bit outplayed there, I have to say. Sven just played him there very well in the stadium section. Knew Tobias could go deep, ran him deep, and just slow in, fast out, ducked down the inside, and he was straight through in the 2nd spot. And he's already looking keen on Rob Mason. I tell you what, as Sven just keeps it clean, gets past Rob nice and calmly, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes, I can't see Sven not winning this. He's got such good pace in that car that you'd think he's got to have it pretty much sealed. As Rob's not slow, he's no slouch in these things, but he's not Sven de Vries fast in these F3 cars. As Sven is already pulling the back of the drag machine, and I reckon Rob's going to know the score here. He knows how quick Sven is. It is for a race lead, but there is still quite a long way to go, so I reckon Robbie won't fight it too hard. He'll only fight to a point, I suspect, just enough so he makes it difficult for him, but not too difficult that he possibly causes an accident or anything like that between the two. So head down towards the back straight towards Stowe, and Sven's got a good... Oh, this is a crash there is, yeah, Hoekstra's off. Oh, Vergiel and Muscat are off the track, and Vergiel spun all the way around, so he's lost a lot of time. And it's more instance there as they go through the rhythm section, but Rob Mason defends into Stowe as they battle for the lead continues. And Sven tries to hold around the outside, but Rob blocks it off there, and Tobias is back in this once again. There's more crashes in the background. Francesconi this time through Stowe. He's spun it around. He's rejoined once again. The battling in this race is just manic throughout the field. Unbelievable stuff. The desperation is very clear to see in this second race here as Sven continues to hound the back of Rob Mason as they go through turn 1. With Tobias Olsen very much close in tow. It's a bit of a gap then back to Milan, but Sven round the outside once again into the rhythm section, into the stadium section. I reckon he's got it done. Rob tries to hold, but he can't. He's going to lose 2 for 1 here as he suddenly finds himself losing a spot again. This time to Tobias Olsen as they go through the stadium section and head down this little short straight. And I reckon he has lost it. Let's have a look. Tobias on the inside. Rob will have a bit of a slipstream from Sven, but he is on the outside of the corner. And there you go. Olsen makes the move stick. And now Rob Mason finds himself from going from first to third in pretty much as many corners. But still on the podium and still thereabouts. But now you'll have a charging Milan and Mlinic coming at him as well in the coming laps. Battling further backs. Yeah, P8, I was just about looking at Jarl Tyen and Wesley Stefano, who had a pretty solid start, avoiding the early carnage, having a lovely little tussle here for P8 to head down towards Cops. And side by side, I think they just about make it through, and Jarl's got past Wesley there into Cops. They're head through the rhythm section, but I tell you what, Stefano's looking just as keen to get back through as they both clobber the curbs. In these cars, very risky game doing that, because if you do it too much, you can very easily find yourself going off the track if you just hog the curbs a little bit too much in these things, because they're a little bit snappy, as we've already seen in these two races. Credit also, shout out to Mike Quint, who's just behind these two, P10, after he started pretty much at the back of the field. So Mike Quint showing how it's done in this second race, but just wherever you look, Sam, there's just battles going on all over the place right now in the second race.
Yeah, there really is. These guys are not settled at all. They're all still battling for whatever positions they can, and after such a hectic start, the field is still trying to shake itself out. But Sven de Vries has got the lead once again, as he did at the end of race 1. But he's still got Tobias Olsen close to him, only half a second behind. So it's certainly not over for that lead battle just yet. It could go either way. Niels Brugman, all the way back in 13th place, is trying to recover right now. He's lost a few positions over the last couple of laps. He's started off well, but certainly lost a lot of places. And just looking at the back of Jason Muscat right now for 12th, but lost a few tenths of a second there between the two of them in the arena section. And Lars Brugman, on the other hand, though, has got past Wupke Hoekstra going into the second sector and takes 6th place. So he's finally starting to recover those positions lost after that burst turn spin.
Indeed, so Lars making his charge back through the field, P6 now, and you'd be thinking he'll be eyeing up the likes of Milan and Mlinic pretty soon as, P1, Tobias Olsen and Sven de Vries. Oh, geez, Tobias nearly having a big moment there through the rhythm section, but he's gone, he's gone through the rim section. There you go. It just followed on, and that's what happens through there. You have an instant in the first part, and it just carries on through the whole thing, because it all rhythms and links together. So that if one mistake happens, it just compounds it for the rest of that section. But finds himself now in P5 behind Mlinic and Milan, who are going side by side into Stowe. Milan defending on the inside, but Mlinic's just going, I'll try around the outside either way. I don't really mind, as he goes all the way off track there on the AstroTurf. Not quite enough grip out there in the marbles to hold that around the outside. So Milan holds on to P3 for the moment, but they're now got to possibly riled up Tobias Olsen. He'll be a little bit probably frustrated from that error from himself through there. So he'll be pretty keen to get back into the podium again and get it all podium in this first round. I'm sure he'd love that. But either way, as P7 continues, Jarl Tyen and Wupke Hoekstra are still taking chunks out of each other here as they head into the stadium section. Hoekstra having a look where he can, inside, outside, upside down, underneath the car, wherever he can do it. Doesn't really matter, he'll try. But he just can't seem to make the move stick so far. Jarl, as we saw, he's got good pace in these cars, qualified pole after all. But instance have sort of rendered him a bit further down, but he holds on for the moment. But Hoekstra's going to have the slipstream here as they head down towards the double apex left-hander. He's a little bit of a flick, has a little look down the inside, but Jarl, he's well too aware and brakes nice and late, nice and steady, and he's able to hold on to P7 for the time being. P10's also having a nice little battle with Francesconi and Quint. Francesconi trying to recover after that spin to Stowe earlier in the race. Also P4, pretty close, Mlinic and Olsen, as Olsen trying to recover after that issue through the rhythm section. Let's have a look here as he has a look into Cops, it's a half look, but not really a place to pass through Cops unless you basically pass before the corner actually happens. So Olsen just tucks in for the moment, but I wouldn't say it would be long until he finds a way past them.
No, certainly not. He's looking every which way to try and get a move done, as now Sven de Vries has a 1.2 second lead over Rob Mason after that change of positions earlier on, as the senior tying touching the grass there down the straight. I think he's concentrating on something else right now as he tries to catch up with the guys ahead. One of those being Lars Brugman is now Tobias Olsen looking to the outside on Masai Mulik going into Vale, but just not quite got his car far enough alongside and has to slot back in behind him in 5th place for the time being. And that's also helping Lars Brugman catch up with the two of them as well. So that's all closing up for 4th at the moment. And still a few other battles down the field. Niels Brugman as well, still trying to get past Jason Muscat. It's pretty close between the two of them to go through the first couple of corners. And nope, nothing's on. But ahead of them though, Quinton Francesconi are side by side going through the arena section right there. And Francesconi had the inside for the second part of the section and onto the national straight. It looks like he's going to hold on to the position for now, but he's having to go defensive as Quinton looks back up the inside. Something going on.
Yeah, sorry, no, I just saw then it was Tobias Olsen and Mlinick. They nearly came together, and what this has done is let Lars through, and suddenly Olsen finds himself in 6th. Olsen went down the inside in the double left-hander, and Mlinick's just squeezed him a little bit too much, and both just had a little bit of a coming together. They managed to not spin. It was very good work from both of them not to spin off outright, but they keep going. But now Lars gets past Mlinick into Copse, and he finds himself in P4 all of a sudden. And Tobias is through as well. Well, good move from Tobias there. Very opportunistic to get past Mlinick. Look at these 4. They're so close. Jarl Tyne on the back of these 4 as well. Wookie Hoekstra's catching them at the same time. They have a good old 5-car battle for P4 here soon enough, although Lars with his pace, you'd think Lars would start to pull away pretty soon, but here we go with Jarl Tynes now having a look at Mlinick as well. Mlinick finding himself dropping down the field like a stone as everyone pounces on him here after that little issue earlier in the lap as Jarl looks around the outside through Stowe. We'll see if he can hold it all. Mlinick doesn't really give him the room, just says, look buddy, I'm not really going to be that nice to you, as he blocks him up, but Jarl just goes, you know what, I'm going to try anyway, I don't really give a toss how much room you give me. He's going to try around the outside as they go through the final few corners. Mlinick's still there. They're both going side by side. The final coil is still not done. They're both going on here. Wookie Hoekstra's now corner to this one. He's probably licking his lips in anticipation as they go through turn 1, still side by side. As they still haven't sorted out. Jarl goes wide. Oh, Hoekstra's going to get through on them both possibly here as they head into the arena section. Oh, big dive from Jarl there as they head into the right-hander. I think he's done it, but he runs wide. Oh, contact, and they're off. There it is. I was waiting for something to happen there. It all was escalating, and eventually the cork had to pop, and unfortunately Mlinick's the one who suffers there. He's now going to find Stefano all over the back of him now, so no rest for the wicket apparently. In the case of Mlinick there, as Stefano's looked down the inside into the double left-hander, and I reckon he's getting the move done here. Mlinick probably a little bit tentative there, Mlinick, which is fair enough after the little bit of contact there. I'd probably be a little bit sort of tentative as well. As P2, being told indeed, is very close indeed. Rob Mason's finally been caught by Milan. Credit to Rob, he's doing a very solid job in P2. Milan, you would have thought he'd caught him quicker, but Mason's been chipping away. He's just keeping it consistent, and he's been found himself still in P2, but finally Milan's caught him. And we'll see how this goes. We've seen how close these cars can run to each other without issue generally. So we'll see how this goes. Mason, as I said, he's a consistent campaigner. He's not, as I said, not the quickest driver out there, but he's very consistent. But even the most consistent driver can be outdone by the sheer pace of Milan here, as he isn't in the slipstream of the Drake car as they head through Stowe, but not quite close enough. And Mason hold station from Milan, but into Vale. Oh, Milan, not quite sure which way to go. He almost gets a bit confused there. Do I go inside, outside? What do I do? But he doesn't quite close enough to make the move, and Mason holds, but there's a little bit of train forming now, and there's Mr. Lars Brugman finds himself possibly in with a share of the podium here as we head on to the final few laps of this race.
Yeah, it's gone by quickly, hasn't it? But it's certainly not over yet as Rob Mason and Milan go nearly. Oh, Milan's gone right to the back of Mason, and that's just really disappointing there for Rob Mason. He's lost a ton of positions through no fault of his own. Milan has just completely hit him up the gearbox, and well, now we've got a battle brewing between 3 drivers per second as Olsen and Brugman have joined the party now, with Milan currently still in second place, but his position is really looking under threat as we go down, and Lars Brugman is going to try and go around the outside of him to get the inside into Luffield to then be able to take this position. Milan's trying to hold it around the outside, and Lars Brugman just lights up the tyres, comes out the corner perfectly really, gets the position done, so he's up into second now, and he just has to watch out behind him because Milan and Olsen are still both there right on his tail, and Milan had a little look there, didn't he, into Cop, sorry. Nothing was quite on, and that's actually cost Milan. He lost some momentum because he took too tight a line into Cops, and also gets a position back, so he's back up into the podium positions, along with Lars Brugman now, who's into the podium positions for the first time in this race, but they're both a full 5 seconds behind Sven de Vries, as Niels Brugman has just retired from the race.
Yeah, dude, I'm just looking back on the replay on that. Looks like he's having a side-by-side moment with Verjao through Stowe, and then he just pulls it over. That's interesting. I'm not going along fine. He just stops it. That's weird. Yeah, he just pulls it over and calls it quits. That's a very weird one. Okay, unless there was a hardware issue or something. That's a very odd retirement from Niels. But either way, that means we've only got the one surviving Weltz's car left in the race. It's Lars Brugman running P2. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting to see if we can find out after the race what happened there with Niels. It's a very odd retirement. But either way, a little bit more sedated now. Everyone's sort of calmed down a little bit after some shenanigans. As I said, unfortunate for Rob Mason there. Just a bit of an innocent bystander into the arena section there, getting wiped out from P2 and a potential podium. Drake, but he's still in P7, so it's still points of some description right now, and he is keeping with Hoekstra, credit to Mason, so he's keeping in formation pretty much, and possibly gets some solid points for himself in this second race, despite that little bit of contact, so it'll still be good for Rob to secure that. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's a good little battle brewing further back. P10, Mason, Muscat, Mlinick, and Quince, they're all having a nice little close formation right there. So Wesley Stefano just ahead of them. Credit to a little bit of a shout to Wesley. He's had a very solid race here. He's just kept clear of the dramas early on. You know, kept his nose clean, got into the top 10. He's showing decent pace for EJ Engineering, looking like he could well get a top 10. Although Muscat, Mlinick, and Quint are sort of closing on him ever so slowly. So we'll see if that holds for these final few laps as we go along. Joe Watts, by the way, up to P17, so a shout there after he missed the first race, so managed to make up spots nonetheless. As P11, Mlinick and Quint's very close there. Oh no, Quint's gone. There he goes. Loses the back end through the rhythm section, and that's going to be a whole ton of spots lost. Is he going to call it quits? I think he might. He hasn't moved yet, so I reckon he's going to escape. Let's have a look. He still hasn't moved. I reckon he might escape, and there he goes. Yep, escapes the garage. So Quint just calling it quits after that, which I guess is fair enough there after he's had a few incidents throughout this race. But yeah, head over now for the final lap. Sam and yes, Sven. He's just got the lead earlier in the race, and he hasn't looked back.
Yeah, I think if we want to see a repeat of the first race and how close that was, I think something very unfortunate is going to happen to Sven de Vries over this final lap. And while we wouldn't want to wish that, but he's just done what he's had to do. He came through all the carnage on the first lap and then just carved his way through the final couple of positions that he had to get to take the lead. And from then on, he's just kept it steady. And while those behind him have had incident and comings together, he has managed to keep out of it all, and that's why he's got a 4.8 second lead over Lars Brugman, who's done a very good job as well of recovering from being midfield at the start, and actually having that spin at the start of the race as well, didn't he? He was pointed backwards in the second corner. It was looking that bad for him, but somehow he's ended up in second place, so fair play to Lars Brugman for turning that around in about 10 laps, but he's still not over completely because Tobias Olsen is right there with Lars Brugman as well.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Tobias is on a mission. He wants that P2. I think he wants to beat Lars, which is fair enough. Whenever you beat Lars, you've done pretty well, to be fair, unless he has some major issues. But either way, Sven de Vries coming down the hanger straight now, having had a very nice race. You know, cleared the trouble, made sure he kept his nose relatively clean early on, and he's going to reap the rewards right now. We'll keep an eye on that P2, but it looks like Lars is just about done enough to hold it. Unless he makes a mistake, he should have P2 secured. But here comes Sven now, heading through the final few corners as he heads through Vale and through these final couple of corners as he heads towards the club corner to round off this final lap of the second race here, Formula 3s at Silverstone. Sven de Vries takes the double here, clean sweep for the satellite racing driver. He takes the win in the second race here, much more comfortably than that very, very close first race. He ends up being 5 seconds clear from Lars Brugman, secures second spot after another eventful race for the Wouters driver, but he does at least get a podium for this one, so solid points there for him. Good race once again from Tobias Olsen once more in the wars a little bit in the second race, but does come back with another podium. So double podium for him. I'm sure he'll be happy with that result. Nice consistent points for him. Milan ends up P4, so another top 5 for him after, again, some few more moments for his race there. Yaltain, a good recovery to come from 17th on the grid, I believe it was, to finish P5. Good solid result for Jarl. Wookie Hoekstra ends up P6 after a few little moments throughout that race. Rob Mason, P7, some solid points despite the contact there in the closing stages of the race. Francesconi ends up P8 after the spin at Stowe with Wesley Stefano. A good solid race for him to take a top 10 for EJ Engineering in P9. Jason Muscat in the second Multiforce rounds out a double top 10 for them, so they'll be happy with that. Linnick ends up P11 after a few issues for him, with Roy Verajao ending up P12 with some late moments for him. Chris Kinsman ends up P13, so keeps his nose clean and gets another top 15 for him, so good stuff there. Yannick Simoncic finds himself down in P14 for Hawkeye after a bit more of a dramatic second race for him. He'll be probably a little bit disappointed in that one. Some good points gone missing or gone begging for both himself and Hawkeye. Liechtenstein, Christoph Liechtenstein found himself in P15. He had a little bit of a late moment actually with Simoncic. I just caught it as I was looking back through the field there at the very end. He had a little bit of a moment through Vale with Simoncic, but he still managed to hold on to get a top 15, so good stuff there. Joe Watts in the second EJ Engineering car comes from the back of the field to be P16, so solid stuff for him in the race he managed to get into this time round. So, solid results nonetheless. Canderson, P17, unfortunately, in the involved in the lap 1 shenanigans that happened early on, so only finds himself a long way down the field, which I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with there. Theo Van Brink in the first of the Woods finds himself in P18 with Greg down in P19. Brett Megcar for the first Deltex P20. Soinen in P21, Jacob Pegg in P22 with Paul McKenna P23, Renk Hoekstra in P24 in the second of the CM Tech cars with Casper Onwin rounding out the finishes, and then your retirements: Mike Quint, Niels Brugman, Adam Osger, and the game reset on me as I was going through that. All right, well, yeah. Apologies there, the retirements disappeared before I could get through them all. But yeah, I think it was 5 retirements all up there for that race. So good, nice and even pretty much for retirements, which I guess is a handy thing. But yeah, there you go. That is us. Yeah, that's 2 races done. The opening round of the F3 series all over after that. But I think I don't know if you can ask much more, Sam. It had it all, didn't it? It had some crashes, you had some shenanigans in that second race in the opening lap, you had some amazing battles, you had obviously the close finish in race 1. It's pretty much all you'd ask for out of, well, any race anywhere, really.
Yeah, that first race was absolutely incredible, and the second race was still very good as well. We certainly saw a little bit more of a messy start there in the second race. I think there was just a few too many chain reaction crashes, but still great to see some of the guys being able to come through the field. It really shows that you can overtake in this series. It isn't all done and dusted after lap 1 either. It's still plenty of opportunities, even in such a short race as an 11 lap race around here. A very short race. It still saw quite a few guys really making up positions as the race went on, and that's exactly what we wanted to see. A really good effort by De Vries for picking up another win, so he's got his double here today, and that's just him kind of setting a marker down for the rest in this championship now. They've got to really try and pull the socks up and find something else for the second round in 2 weeks' time to be able to really take the challenge and stop De Vries from winning any more races. And Lars Brugman, of course, he probably could have won that first race if he hadn't have spun it early on. But of course, he'll be ruining that. But did a good job to turn it around in race 2 and pick up at least the second place and get his points tally off the mark. And a few other guys did well. Again, Tobias Olsen, a couple of more mistakes in race 2, but he did very good once again, and really showing that he's got some genuine speed in these cars. And one other guy I'd like to shout out for was Rob Mason. He was looking so good there in race 2 until that contact, and he could have potentially ended up with a podium had he not gone spinning off into the arena section. So apart from that, really, really enjoyable stuff, and I'm really excited to see what the rest of this championship's going to offer us now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll definitely second what you said. Yeah, definitely. It was very exciting first few races, the first couple of races, and yeah, it's going to be a fascinating season ahead. So we do have a few people waiting in the interview room. Hopefully, I'm not going to interrupt the mid-conversation. Apologies in advance if I do. I can't move them in. Oh, password to the thing. I have to. I'll have to quickly sort this out. Apologies. Just having to sort out getting them in the room. Apparently, I can't get them in because of TeamSpeak and TeamSpeak. But yeah, it's been a fascinating first couple of races, and I'm very keen for what's to follow. And yeah, it's just going to be one of those things. Apologies again. I'm just trying to sort out getting this. Oh, there we go. Okay, all right, all good. All right, there we go. Apologies for that. Just having trouble getting people into the channel or into the room. But here now, and I guess we'll start. I mean, where else are we going to start? We have to start with Sven de Vries, of course. The man who won both races, Sven. That was well, with me and I mean, I was losing my voice and mind and pretty much everything in that first race. That was just I mean. Can you get any closer to the finish? I don't think you can, but walk us through both races from your end.
Yeah, probably can't get any closer than that. That was awesome. That's probably my my most fun sim racing race I've done so far. The competition was incredible. I mean, we qualified. The top three was qualified within 1/10 of a second. I mean, that says enough. We've got many champions, race winners, and all that in this field. So if I told myself if I was able to get a podium here and even win here, that would mean something to me, and I managed to pull that off. Had to battle hard for it. A little bit of luck here and there, but in the end, it played out just great for me. Same for race 2. I managed to get through the field pretty quickly. There was a little bit of chaos left and right of me, but I kept my eyes open and avoided everything and used some common sense and was able to take the lead and save it.
Yeah, great effort there, Sven. And of course, we all know that you've been working hard behind the scenes and definitely would have got the practice in. But were you expecting to challenge for a win today and get 2 wins in the end of it?
No, I mean we have so many fast people. I was expecting Lars, Niels, Eros, Tobias, Herne, Jarl, Borat. I mean, there were at least 10 people that should have easily been able to win. So I was expecting one hell of a fight, which it turned out to be. But I didn't necessarily expect to be on top. So that was awesome.
Yeah, indeed. No, very, very well done indeed. Congratulations on the 2 wins to start off your campaign, and look forward to seeing you in action at the next round and first of the season. So thanks for coming, Sven.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll move on to the next driver in here for the interviews. We'll go to Tobias Olsen, I think, next for the interviews. So Tobias, a little bit interesting, obviously. The 2 races for you were leading for race 1, then a little bit of contact into Stowe, so you dropped back to 3rd, but still a podium. Then obviously race 2, there was a lot of shenanigans throughout pretty much the entire field. But still managed to get a podium, so double podiums is always nice. But what was it like from your view there?
Yeah, well, race 1 was pretty calm there for the first 15 laps maybe, and then they kind of caught up to me in the end after the pit stop, and yeah, I had some contact there, and I don't know, I think I left enough space, but yeah, shit happens. And race 2 was kind of crazy, actually. I don't really know. I had some silly moves and some good ones, I think. If I had some unnecessary contact, I would like to apologize for that. And yeah, well, it was 2 nice races, I think.
Yeah, really good effort as well, Tobias. And well, what were you expecting? Were you expecting to be as competitive? And what about your team as well? Because I'm sure we're going to see more from your teammate as well.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have any practice, so I was a bit surprised. I almost had a really good lap in qualifying, but I fucked it up in the last sector. But Strane was here earlier today, but yeah, he decided not to drive tonight, and yeah, we're not. Yeah, I don't know why really.
As I said, good 2 podiums for you, third and thirds, good solid points, and at least gives you a good starting point for the remainder of the season. So again, thank you for coming in, Tobias,
Yeah,
and congrats
thanks.
on the double podiums. Yeah, no worries at all. All right, so we'll move on to the last interviewees who've come in here. So good to have the main guys coming in. So we got Jonik Simincic in here for interview. So yeah, Jonik, sort of asked the same thing as he asked the other two. Obviously, it was a bit of an interesting first race up there fighting with Sven. Obviously, the end, as close as we can get, really, that I've seen, and I think you could get certainly in circuit sim racing. And obviously, second race is a little bit more of a maniac, chaotic sort of fest. But how is it for you for both those races from you? A bit of a both ends of the spectrum, I suspect, for you.
Yeah, well, it was, of course, it was great fun, especially race 1. I mean, I don't really care what happened in race 2, there is not much to comment. But yeah, I didn't actually do any lap after the test race 2 weeks ago. Only maybe 3-4 laps before qualifying. But still, I was quite shocked at my lack of pace. Only P8, I think, it was in qualifying. But somehow I came up to P3 in race, and then P2. It was incredible. Then I don't know what happened with Tobias. We had some contact. He said he left me room. I think we both left enough room. I'll have to check replay, but I'm sorry if I did anything wrong there. But anyway, yeah. Then with Sven, yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. The last 2 laps, just incredible. Yeah. Race 2 again, not much to comment. My race start failed, and then it was all failure till almost running out of fuel at the end, and that was it. But still, overall, I really enjoyed the event.
Yeah, that was a thoroughly exciting battle between you and Sven in race 1. Can you just tell us a bit more about those final couple of laps, because that was really exciting for us to watch?
Yeah, I knew I could somehow keep the lead from Sven because he was behind me for like 5 laps. I was trying to close in on Tobias, but I couldn't because I had to constantly move over to defend the inside line. But then somehow I managed to catch Tobias' slipstream. And then, well, me and Sven got ahead after the contact, and then I just tried to keep it on the inside, but Sven somehow got an amazing run and dived in. We went side by side through turn 1, sideways almost for me. Yeah, a little bit of outbraking in last lap, but then I tried my best to catch him again. Yeah, again some contact, but I mean it was perfectly alright. It happens. And then side by side over the line. If only there was like 100, 200 meters more, I think I had better run. But yeah, amazing finish at the end.
Yeah, indeed. No, it's definitely very much, very, very exciting ending. I was basically had no voice by the end when you guys crossed the line. But yeah, thanks again for coming in, Jonik, and again, congratulations on
Thank you.
first race result. And yeah, hopefully I look forward to seeing up top of the field the rounds to come. But yeah, that basically wraps us up for round 1 of the Formula 3 series here at the WCS League. Next up in terms of event-wise, is the BMWs, the E90s. They start up next week, 25th of January at Donington Park, and I did do a little bit of, again, just was running around just for the fun of it earlier on, and it was absolutely pouring with rain. So wouldn't be surprised, especially being in Britain, there might be a little bit of weather to play with, and that could really make it quite interesting. So definitely want to watch that first round of that series. It'll be very, very close racing, I suspect. Those BMWs really do promote some very, very close racing, just like these F3 cars do. Next round for these F3s will be at Monza on the 1st of February. Which should be a slipstream fest and a half. I'm expecting there to be trains of about 20 cars just slipstreaming each other over and over down the straights of Monza. It's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 4 wide down the main straight, maybe even 5 wide. Let's just be inventive. Why not? Let's just do it. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened in that next round. But yeah, it should be a fascinating one to come, Sam. There's some great rounds on the calendar, great tracks on the calendar for both the BMWs and the F3s. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm sure as much as you are. But final comments from you, Sam, before we head off.
Yeah, well, I'd just like to say what a good job everyone's done to get basically everything running here today. This was very much kind of a real test for seeing how well everything had been set up over the last couple of months. Of course, this has gone from nothing into a full race series full of 30 cars on the field here today for 2 races, and a broadcast as well with an incredible commentary and camera team that you could just you just can't ask for more. And what we saw today was really good stuff, and it just shows that everything's been put together so well, and I'm so glad that it's all worked out, and we've been able to put on a real show here today, and just entertaining racing, full-on battles, some great names in terms of the teams and the drivers here that have come into this series, and I'm so glad that it all seems to have gone off without a hitch. I can't really put a negative light on anything that's happened over the course of this evening, really. Maybe a few crashes here or there, but that's racing, isn't it? So a good effort by everyone that's kind of organised this and put this all together. It's been great to see, and it's been a positive one from my opinion, and that's why I really can't wait for the rest of the season now after such a good first round.
They're definitely in second. Everything you said, Sam, agreed completely. Great, fantastic stuff from everyone to get the league up and running and to make it a reality. It's been really quite a fascinating, quite amazing transformation from this idea of a league to being what it is now, which is really amazing achievement for everyone involved and all the admins, Sven and Roy and the like, and Chris Kinsman and everyone and the admin team for making this all work out. Again, as always, a big thank you to Ben Willis on the cameras. Always does just a A+++ job on the cameras. He's a superstar on the cameras. And again, fantastic work from Ben here for this one. Big thanks as always, and of course, thank you to Sam Jones for joining me in the booth. It's been an amazing experience, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did for this first round championship. But until next time, which will be next week for the BMWs at Donington, for me and the rest of the team, it is bye for now.